Man, you come right out of a comic book.
Pulp the Pixel Media.
Exploring the media multiverse of geek culture.
He meddled in things potentially.
Hello, I am Gotham Sharan, creator of The Last Earth, my science fantasy comic strip and love letter to the pulp culture of the 80s. Today, I am continuing with my process and inspiration videos where I will be inking the works of a particular artist as a way of helping hone my skills as a cartoonist as I go on this journey to chase my dreams of being a cartoonist and comic artist. Today, I'm going to be revisiting the works of Jack Kirby as I have done in previous videos. But today we're also celebrating what would be the 106th birthday of Jack Kirby, the King of Comics. Now, I don't think it can be properly stated the influence of Kirby has had on American mainstream comics. His influence starts in the 40s during the Golden Age and goes right up into the 90s at the Image Revolution, which itself changed the face of the comic industry. His art style has helped create the Marvel Universe. He has created the Fourth World, Kamandi, the Demon, OMAC, Eternals, the Fantastic Four, Thor, X-Men, Hulk, and many, many more. His influence on comic book artists cannot be understressed, as there are very few comic artists that you'll find that don't at some point reference Kirby as an influence or someone they had looked to. For myself, Kirby was kind of always in the background. He was something that I would see referenced, but I never really kind of understood his influence truly until I came across the New Gods Baxter reprints in the 80s. While I had read issues of Kirby stories, Fantastic Four stories, X-Men stories before, it really wasn't until the New Gods that I would say that I really fell in love and understood the true breadth of what Kirby brings to comics. From the iconic Kirby dots and KirbyKrackle to the foreshortening and what I like to call is the big Kirby hand, in which you hear statements like the earth dies at dawn. Some of my favorites of the genre. So to celebrate that, I thought I would ink a few of his characters. Originally, I was planning to just ink the characters in his sort of god cycle, which I would say is Thor, the New Gods, the Eternals, and then Captain Victory as the later sort of the future. I've read or heard in some cases that, while I don't know if it was fully stated, Captain Victory may be even considered the son of Orion down the line. And the New Gods themselves reference the death of the old gods in a Ragnarok-like event, which is very much the end of the Norse gods or Thor's gods. In there as well, we have, the unforgettable character of Doctor Doom, one of probably the greatest Marvel characters and villains to come out of the House of Ideas, and of course Galactus and his space angel Harold, the Silver Surfer. Now, in addition to picking characters from mainstream Marvel and DC's New Gods, I also did include some of his other works from DC, and as well as some of his more independent work, including such images as you can see right now on the screen as Captain Victory, Silver Star, Tiger 21, which was, I believe, a pitch he and Joe Simon had for an unused TV show in the background, and a few more. We'll see a Fighting American and a Blue Bolt appear shortly here. Now, originally, like I said, I had originally only planned to do only 3 or 4 characters in this kind of as a large, almost triptych originally, but I really just wanted to fill the space, and the more I got into it, the more this sort of mural of Kirby's work emerged. And then in particular, as you can see right now, I'm starting to draw. I wanted to have a picture of Kirby himself within it. Now, I could have just cropped this picture and added it in the center to kind of connect it to the real person, but I felt as an artist, he would appreciate my rendering him in my art style. So with a little light box action used in my digital compute, my digital platform here, I created a vector line version of Kirby for this image. This was actually the first time I've actually ever drawn Jack Kirby himself, and I have to say there was something to drawing his face and drawing the lines in his face, and I could almost feel the sort of like the trials and tribulations that he'd gone throughout his life as veteran of the World War II, and also kid growing up in Depression era New York, and as the struggles he had in the comic industry, where if anyone knows, he has had some ups and downs, some tragedies and triumphs. But I'm going to end my discussion of that here, and I have included an excerpt of the interview from the Comics Confidential movie, where we have Kirby, in his own words, talking about some of his most important works and the influences and themes behind them. I hope you enjoy.
I see that story first. I feel that story first. I know those people first. When I put them down, they've already lived. And I put them down as I'd like them to live on those pages. My stories are very sincere. My stories are people's stories. And there's elements in my stories that are very, very real. And it doesn't matter what the subject is. And I've done stories in a wide range of subjects. My inspirations were the fact that I had to make sales. And I had to come up with characters that were no longer stereotypes. In other words, I couldn't depend on gangsters. I had to get something new. And of course, for some reason, I went to the Bible. I came up with Galactus. And there I was in front of this tremendous figure who I knew very well because I've always felt him, and I certainly couldn't treat him in the same way that I would any ordinary mortal. And I remember in my first story, I had to back away from him to resolve that story. And of course, the Silver Surfer is the fallen angel. And when Galactus relegated him to Earth, he stayed on Earth. And that was the beginning of his adventures. And they were figures that had never before been used in comics. They were above mythic figures. And of course, they were the first gods. And I began thinking along those lines. And the new gods evolved from those lines. And I began to ask myself, everybody else had their gods, what are ours? What is the shape of our society in the form of myth and legend? Who are our gods? Who are our evil gods? And who are our good ones? And I tried to resolve them in the new gods. And I came up with some very, very interesting characters and very good sales. which satisfied me immensely. Now, I didn't resolve the questions. I'm a guy who lives with a lot of questions. I say, what's out there? And I try to resolve that. And I never can. I don't think anybody can. Who's got the answers? I sure would like to hear the ultimate one. But I haven't yet. And so I live with a lot of questions. And I find that entertaining. And if my life would have went tomorrow, it would be fulfilled in that manner. I would say the questions have been terrific. The comic book medium itself is special. It's something that was, that's a result of evolvement. From what I understand, the editorial comic was first. And then they added a few panels to that and you had a comic strip. And they added a few pages to that and you had a comic book. And what we can add to the comic book? We may have to think about that. So I believe that's the interesting part of the entire field, is to say, what is it? Where is it going? How it'll evolve. And we experiment with that every day.
Thanks again for joining me on my art process journey as I create my comic strip, The Last Earth. You can follow me on the web at www.pulp2pixel.com and on Instagram and Twitter at Pulp2Pixel. See the show description for links to my Linktree, my merch store, and donation site. See you next time when we return to the distant future of The Last Earth.